Hi, everybody. This is Jim Cornette, pro wrestling legend, and you're listening to the Book in the Territory Unprofessional Wrestling Podcast.
This is the artist formerly known as Daryl Van Horn, James Mitchell, the Sinister Minister, and I'm here to let you know I would rather slam my cock in a car door than to miss the dulcet tones of Hard Body Harper, my illegitimate son, on Booking the Territory podcast.
Woo, Messi, this is professional wrestler Jimmy Valiant, the Boogie Woogie Man. Tell my people, my brothers and sisters, don't you dare miss Booking the Territory. Oh, yeah.
This is a one-man gang. You're listening to Booking the Territory Pro Wrestling Podcast.
Welcome back, everyone, to this week's episode of Booking the Territory, the Unprofessional Wrestling Podcast, where today we are covering WCW Saturday Night on TBS from May the 9th of 1992. If you are listening on YouTube, hit the subscribe button to subscribe to our channel and hit the like button to like the actual video. That makes Harper really happy, and it makes the algorithm even happier. And put a comment below as well. I am sitting here with Doc and not Hard Body Harper, as we talked about. I think we mentioned it on the last show. Harper wouldn't be here for this show because we're moving things around so that he can be here for the pay-per-view, big Wrestle War pay-per-view coming up in, I think, a week and a day or two from now. Doc, let me welcome you in. It's been less than 24 hours since we recorded the last episode. So what's up, man?
I told you we would beat the Chargers. I told you it'd be no big deal. We're on our way to 15-2. Cowboys 15-2, right?
That game hasn't happened yet. For everybody listening to this, this is being recorded.
We're 4-2.
He's still reeling from that ass whooping that the San Francisco 49ers gave his team, 42-10 on Sunday Night Football, where the whole world saw it. So let's be clear about that. There has been no Cowboys-Chargers game as of us recording this. Now, when you're listening to it, yeah, the game's happened, but
we'll be 4-2. That's what I'm saying.
Don't let him blow that hot air the way he likes to downplay when his team loses, and that's all I'm going to say. That game is on Monday Night Football, too. So if y'all lay an egg on two back-to-back primetime games.
An egg? What's an egg?
Man.
What's an egg?
Don't try to divert the attention to me on the lackluster bullshit performance of your team this year.
Well, can we come together over one thing? I think there's
I don't know. It depends.
Bruh. We recorded just last night. It was a week ago for these people, and there's a couple of things that happened. One, you and I are squarely on this bandwagon of the Texas Rangers, and we advanced. We watched it while we were recording last week, and we went on that night to win the game. We are advancing to the next round. We are now 8 wins away from a world championship. First time ever for the old home. Take me out to the ball game. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I do know what you're saying. It's a shame. The Rangers have been to at least a World Championship series or game. They play a series. And the Cowboys haven't been to one in a very long time. So I'm glad we can come together on the Rangers.
Now, I got something else we can come together on. So by the time people hear all of this play out, what we're throwing down here, and it will be several weeks. So we have to track this in real time for people. We're doing this show and next week without Harper so that Harper can be on the pay-per-view with us, which we're recording next week, but won't be out for a few weeks. But we all can agree that the state of that show is in peril based on the fact that last week we heard that Harper is having severe computer problems.
Yeah.
And I think we ought to I feel like opening up a betting house where the Army could bet on whether or not he has a working laptop by the time it's time to record Wrestle War 92.
I mean, I hope so. But, if Harper was in driving distance, I would have just went to his house and, hey, man, let me see what it's doing. And I feel like I could have figured it out. not that I'm like some IT professional, but you know, I do know how to do basic stuff like Control Alt Delete, restart your machine, stuff that Harper just never does. And the one time he does it, he locks himself out of his computer. But I feel like it's something simple. The problem is we're dealing with Harper and technology. And as you and I are old folks who aren't great with technology, he's a bazillion times worse.
It's true. But hey, not having a working laptop did not stop Harper from for turning in one of his all-time performances last week. It's only been 24 hours for that. We've been laughing all day at some of the nonsense that came out of his mouth after he got on his phone and still found a way to make it to the show last week.
He was throwing his fastball when he started going down the path of, you know, night vision goggles and, you know, all you assholes out there buying up ammo and guns, you better get you some night vision, because if you do, you're gonna be you get night vision. You can pick off people in the middle of the night; they won't see you coming. I mean, he wasn't wrong.
Talking about barn owls, and then later we got
that's what he said.
Yeah, then we get into like him talking about texting the wrong girl for somebody, and then that girl wants to like, hey, what's up to Harper? He was on another level last night. Last week. I'm sorry, last week. Well, this is gonna be difficult because we're recording the next episode in 2 days, and that one won't come out for several weeks. God, this is gonna be hard. The Cowboys are gonna be 15-2 by the time we get to the pay-per-view.
This is kind of like when the old Smoky Mountain shows or even the Saturday night shows, in a way, not us recording it, but how they did it. You know, Corny would do 3 to 4 tapings at one event, like one show. And Saturday night has typically done 2, but they've had instances where I think they've had, 3 shows from one taping. So it's kind of like that, where, like you just said, you said last night, when in actuality, by the time this is heard, it was a week ago that took place, where he was talking about barn animals and having, or barn owls and having the night vision of a barn owl. And then he got into the topic of the squirter, which, if you're not a patron, tinyurl.com/Patreon BTT, you want to hear some just disgusting filth of hard body Harper, tinyurl.com/Patreon BTT. But also, I'm saying that too because you can get the Wrestle War pay-per-view breakdown at tinyurl.com/Patreon BTT. Doc, before I throw it to you for anything else, real quick, big shout out to Disrespectfully Classy, Marky Blassie, Mike Chilry, Joe Ice, good old Justin. Thank you for being the biggest supporters of this show and basically being the sponsors of this show. And again, become a patron like those guys. You don't have to pledge like they do, but become a patron. tinyurl.com/Patreon BTT. Get access to all that Patreon gold, 400 plus Patreon exclusive shows, including the video versions of all the shows that we do here are available on Patreon. tinyurl.com/Patreon BTT. Doc, I am opening up the video version now. I don't know if you got anything else before we get into the review portion, but I need to get the video recorder going before we
go ahead and get that started. I have one more little thing that we can talk about. And when it's you and I recording in the span of days, we're not going to sit here and do a large pre-show like we do when we really stretch out and have Harper and Shenanigans and lots of things to talk about. But there's one thing that I really believe in my heart of hearts that we deserve our flowers for, Mike.
Oh God, don't say that word.
Okay. Well, we need it. Okay. We'll turn in our flowers, and what we really need is our high-paying jobs in a big wrestling organization.
Whoever came up with the term, especially in the wrestling industry, of giving someone their flowers, they need to go back and crawl, whatever hole they crawled out of, crawl back into it, never to be seen again by humanity.
What would happen if you went up to Dick Murdoch in the back and said, hey, I just want to give you your flowers for something?
He just slapped the piss out of you. Now, I never met Dick Murdoch. He actually died a year or 2 after I got into wrestling. But I obviously know people who knew him well. And the stories I hear was he was, I mean, you heard Darryl Van Horn talk about him on this show. But, I've heard more stories than that. He was a Just ornery old bastard, bro. So if I'd have started talking about, or anyone started talking about giving somebody their flowers that were still alive in the wrestling business at that point, Murdoch would have slapped the piss out of him.
You think
He just
Harley
open hand
Race?
slapped
You think Harley Race was interested in getting some flowers?
No. It was a different world back then, bro. These guys were, they made a lot of money, but they were doing it. They loved the sport. They did it obviously for the money, but they loved the sport, and it was they were different guys.
Borderline criminal, old school, real dudes.
Oh yeah.
Old school.
Don't get me wrong.
Men's men. Yeah.
Like we always talk about, there were some really terrible people in the business too. I mean, there has been even to this day.
I can't believe they didn't all die of drunk driving accidents.
That's the one you and I have talked about that offline before. Like, we're amazed. Doc and I have had this discussion offline. We're amazed that when you think about being on a 2-lane road, middle of the night, think of the Louisiana, obviously, drives.
Dude, if I was driving on one of those Louisiana roads and I can't see to begin with, man, I'm paying attention. I want to be alert. I want to be rested. I don't want to be 11 beers deep into an 18-pack. Jeez.
That's what I'm saying. So, like, they're drinking, they're driving down these 2-lane roads. I mean, bro, I've driven some of those 2-lane roads that you'll hear Corny talk about when he talks classic wrestling on his show. Let me tell you, it's bad enough driving that when you're tired, it's 1:00 in the morning, and you're just trying to get home. Much less you're tired, you're drinking. I mean, I've told you this story before. I was with my buddy Jerome once. This was actually in Mississippi. We were coming home from a show in Lucedale, Mississippi. And it's just 2-lane roads, and there's like a 10, 15-foot drop or a 10-foot drop on the side. And bro, I was like, we had to pull over. We were falling asleep. I mean, we were just waiting to die. We weren't drunk. We were just tired. Like from, being up all day wrestling and then trying to drive home in the middle of the night. So I'm amazed more old school wrestlers didn't go that way. I know we've had a few that have gone that way, but I'm amazed more haven't.
You know how much I like to drink, don't you?
You're an alcoholic.
Come on. That's not fair. That's not nice either.
There you go with the come on thing again.
What?
Come on. You and Harper, every time.
Come on.
Yeah. Yeah, you're an alcoholic. What about it?
So I like to drink. I even like to drive. But you don't mix the two. Come on.
Yeah, I was getting scared for a minute.
No.
You definitely should not be mixing it, especially in today's world where there's like Lyft and Uber.
Yeah,
like you
there's
can
no
get
reason
home
for
without,
that. Don't put yourself in that kind of risk or anybody else. Now here's the where I want with the flowers thing.
Okay, yeah.
You and I need a job in big time professional wrestling. Because I'm going to tell you that you and I both, maybe, I don't know, 6-7 years ahead of the rest of the world, could have tipped off some big ass organization of wrestling that Eli Drake was going to had superstar written all over his ass. And he had to take the long winding road to get there.
We said it back when he first came to Impact.
He had the dummy button in Impact?
Yeah. 2015 and 16 when he first gets there. It's like the first time he's cutting a promo, we're like, this guy's got something. There's something there.
And we could have helped out all these big companies by going, there's your dude right over there. I know you ain't watching Impact, so let us help you.
Right. Now we don't watch Impact and have.
We should become agents for wrestlers.
Sure. I'm sure there's a lot of lucrative money in that.
Can we also get a ring and start a Fed?
No, that will never happen.
Can we start this week's episode?
We can start this week's episode. So I'm glad you said that. So we are covering, let me hit the record button. We are covering May the 9th, 1992, as we continue in May, WCW Saturday Night on TBS. Doc, this week's show opens, let me hit play on it. This week's show opens with Sting wearing his shades inside. It's the interview from several weeks back, what he's doing with Bischoff. Doc, what did you think about your man Sting here?
I didn't.
You didn't think? Did you hit fast forward?
This isn't a replay?
Yeah.
So I didn't watch it.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It was a replay.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I was making sure I didn't mess up there, but that's a nice little tracksuit he's got on there.
I guess. Yeah, he's talking about it's just a broken rib that he's got. He's
just a broken
fine.
rib.
Right. Just a broken rib. He's going to be fine, all that good stuff. So anyway, then we go into center stage. Missy welcomes us into the show, and I'm pretty sure this week and next week were taped the same day because her hairdo when she throws it to Jim Ross is really kind of straight out of the 80s. She throws it to Jim Ross. Jim Ross welcomes in, as we mentioned at the end of last week's show, Randy Owen from the group Alabama.
So play me some mountain music
He's not
like
that
Grandma and Grandpa used to play.
You have any?
Hold on down the river to a Cajun hideaway.
I know you said you played in bands. I'm pretty sure you never sang in them when I listened to you try to sing.
That's not very nice. We're just having fun here. Why do you have to be mean? I need Harper back. I don't
just
like you.
being brutally honest with you. You know, that's all you can do these days. You got to be brutally
Here we work
honest
10 hours at a shoot job, and we get off, and we're trying to get ahead and like be productive, and you come in mean spirited. I don't understand what the problem is here.
All right. I'm sorry. Do you want me to give you your flowers?
I just prefer that you be nice, but if that's what you call it, sure.
You got any thoughts on Randy Owen here?
Man, that is a country music looking dude. Now, I looked up Randy Owen's net worth before we came on. How much do you think networth.com, which is certainly reputable and exactly accurate, what do you think a man like that, who, as we discussed last week, sold 75 million records, what do you think he's worth?
I don't really know, but I would imagine it's a decent amount of change.
That fool standing there looking like, Lester McGee, he's worth a reported $50 million.
Wow. I actually would have thought maybe more than that.
Okay. Well, maybe he had a coke habit. Who knows?
Okay. Jesus. So from there, we go to Barry Windham, followed by Steve Austin. It's a meat and potatoes promo. It didn't even last a minute, both of them. It was like 15 seconds apiece. They say just a couple of things about the match later in the show because we have a rematch with the 2 out of 3 falls for the World Television title. And then we come back to JR and Randy Owen, and they yap about a few things. And JR asked...
I have a question.
Go ahead.
There.
What are you going to say? Yeah, go ahead.
How the hell can they be all about not being Southern, but bring in this guy to co-host?
Well, I had that note, but I was really cautious about mentioning it because when I first put eyes on this, I'm like, nothing screams TBS national platform like Randy Owen from Alabama. But then I'm like, I'm not well-versed in country music. He sold a lot of records, obviously. So even though he's a country singer, I mean, that's a lot of albums to sign or to sell. So I kind of feel like he would have been well known, even though he's a country singer and not just a Southern star.
Couple things about that.
Okay.
I don't have a problem with it myself. I'm saying that WCW is always trying to shed the Southern angle. That doesn't seem like a good way to do it. Having him on there, I agree. I mean, there's more than, that's all. He had reach. Like you said, I also believe, and I'm sort of guessing here, but I feel pretty good in this. We think of country music as the South, but I think you got to think about it as urban and rural. And you could go out to like rural Pennsylvania or something, and they're just as much into country music as they would be in rural Alabama. And that doesn't mean that the urban areas don't also like them some country music. I'm just saying I don't think it's as north and south as people might think. But Randy Owen is definitely from the great state of Alabama in the way he speaks. But I'm going to tell you this. Seems like a pretty good dude. Did a decent job.
Yeah, he's not bad. And I think you just summarized it well, talking about fans of country, not just from the South, but, rural areas and whatnot. So it makes a lot of sense. And that's why I didn't even bring up, he's this country singer. We're trying to shed the look of being country, but, man, he's got a lot of fans. So I think it's fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
Eyeballs are eyeballs, bro.
Yeah. They do some yapping, and JR did ask him, hey, what do you think? Why do you think so many people love WCW? And he kind of just gave some really a lame answer, but it wasn't bad.
Missy over there could put her legs behind her head. That's one reason.
Okay. So we continue. Go ahead.
But he's on here, and obviously he's spending a lot of time talking about his charity and their foundation. I got no problem with that either. He should get something out of it.
I agree. He's not bad. Like I say, we go to the first match.
And so let me ask you this. Is he better than Hervey?
Oh, God, yes.
Easily.
A million. I said
he's
this
an adult,
about Hervey.
first of all.
It's not even that. Hervey was a good actor. He knows how to act in front of a camera, both as a paid actor and a professional. Why was he acting like a doofus and trying to be too cool for school on the wrestling program? It was Randy Owen he's just being himself, and he's not Mr. Personality, but he's also not awkward. Jason Hervey was awkward and irritating, as we discussed. So yes,
he was twitchy. Like
it was just
weird.
I
get like Randy Owen wouldn't be much different if you ran into him at the steak joint.
Right. Just a guy, talking to you. Hey man,
just a fella.
Hey, what's up, Doc? Oh, all right, yeah. Cool, nice to meet you. Shake your hand.
Hey, I saw you on the wrestling last Saturday night. Hey, thank you, appreciate that.
Yeah, nothing too over the top. Exactly. The first match on the card this week is the Z-Man versus Bob Cook. They don't really go too long. Doc, any thoughts on Z-Man versus Mr. Cook here?
In your opinion, did the right guy win?
The right guy did not win. The guy who won is the Z-Man. He hits a super kick, and then he hits a drop kick off the top. I thought
Z-Man looked all right.
It's nothing to do with the moves. I've said it a million times. He's just boring.
Okay.
As you said, he's the Z-Man, and you were falling asleep on one of the shows once because he was putting you to sleep.
Well, Bob Cook does a hell of a right hand. I was listening to The Devil on a podcast, and he was talking about how underrated Bob Cook was.
Yeah, I think he's a good enhancement talent. He bumps good. He does everything he needs to do well.
If he just had a look.
Yeah, as Harper likes to say, he looks like the guy changing oil at the Jiffy Lube. But he's respectable as a wrestler. He's not in there looking. I mean, we've seen some of these guys who can't bump and don't know what the piss they're doing. Bob Cook is not that. Bob Cook knows exactly what he's doing. So we move from that. Z-Man wins, and we go back to Jim Ross and Randy Owen, and they're promoting something called the June Jam.
Yeah, buddy. We're going to get down at the June Jam.
I think they mentioned more on this later, but it is hilarious.
Duck on a June bug.
Like a duck on a June bug. The June Jam, no. My comment was, as soon as he said June Jam, I was like, Jesus Christ. Killed me.
Man,
any thoughts on...
Hold on a second.
Okay.
I may be able to get you a lineup.
Oh, the June Jam lineup?
Yeah.
Okay. Here, we'll go. I was going to play it while you're looking it up, but I won't play it if you're...
I got something here that talks about 1992. We had Travis Tritt, Vince Gill, Doug Stone, Trisha Yearwood. That's Mrs. Garth Brooks. Aaron Tippin and Diamond Rio. God, I wish we had Harper for this episode.
Travis Tritt is a name that I've heard before. And I'm getting screamed at. We're getting screamed at by all of our Southern wrestling fans out there who like country and they're yelling at us.
This said Alan Jackson was
these
there
guys
too.
Are good. Who? Alan Jackson?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, that's a lineup, man.
Yeah.
I don't know country well, but it sounds like a lineup. Bro. Huh? They still hold it?
Hold on. I'm looking.
The June Jam.
It's got a website, pal.
Well, that would likely mean it's still around.
Alabama has added 3 additional performers to its star-studded lineup at the 2023 June Jam. Oh,
wow.
They will join the legendary band at the VFW Fairgrounds in Fort Payne, Alabama, as Randy Owen and Teddy Gentry resurrect the iconic event.
So 30. Okay, so they said resurrect, so it must have stopped at some point.
Yeah.
But still, 31 years later, there's still going to be a June Jam.
What are you doing? What are you still doing besides jerking off that you were doing in 1992?
Well, I mean, I do work a full-time job. I wasn't doing that in 92.
Right.
But you know where I was probably on May 9th of 1992 on a Saturday night?
Burger King.
Burger King. Guarantee you, because I worked every Saturday.
Yeah, I was working that 11 to 5 shift.
Yeah, I was.
I needed to get out and go take out the lady girlfriend.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. On to the next thing. The next match is Nikita Koloff versus Mr. Hughes. They give him a little time. You got anything from this one, Doc?
JR says that Mr. Hughes weighs 375. Do you think that is accurate?
I forget how tall he is, but
he seems pretty, 6'2",
I'd give him
6'3".
Yeah, I'd give him 350. I don't know about 375.
Okay.
He just doesn't look that big. Like, you know what I mean? He doesn't look that. I mean, he's a big man. I don't want to say he doesn't look that big. You can look at Hughes. He's a big man. But I 375 is pushing it.
That's a big dude. 375 is a lot of weight.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. 375 is a lot of weight. So, yeah, I give him a good 350 for sure.
Okay. They do a test of strength. When's the last time you saw a test of strength in a match?
Do they even do that anymore?
No.
Somebody out there is going to say, well, I saw such and such do it. I mean, I guess they do still do it, but I don't recall seeing it in a long time. That was a common move back then.
Boy, it's such a great way to, slow things down but keep the crowd in it. All of that and the abdominal stretch and the test of strength are 2 great moves. And if we worked for a big-time wrestling company, we could tell them that.
Yeah, they wouldn't listen. You know that.
They would if you slapped somebody upside the head. Dr. D style. Listen, pal.
Yeah, it didn't work out too well for him.
We're trying to draw some money here, you ass.
Come on. It didn't work out too well for him.
Well, we could become bounty hunters. We could become bounty hunters after that.
No, I don't think not. Anything else from Mr. Hughes and Koloff here?
Can you imagine us trying to track down criminals together? We're staking out, and I'm talking, and you're like, dude, they're going to hear us.
Yeah, you wouldn't shut up. Harper would be even worse. I can see Harper standing behind something. Look at this asshole.
Look at this asshole.
Just blurts it out loud.
Yeah. So, who is Mr. Hughes tied to these days?
I actually think that's all dissipated. I mean, he was with Vinny Vegas for a minute. He was with Harley Race, but I think that's all just not happening. I don't know. He's just not tied to anyone, it seems. And it's so crazy because this is the same organization that said he was bought for the York Foundation.
Right.
Or from the York Foundation. So
he's one of those guys that in hindsight was a lot better than I remember.
He's so goddamn good.
Okay, so I want to
bumps so great.
I need you to run it back just a little bit there. We were talking. Can you go back to 1840? I really like this move because I like what Fonzie does with it. Fonzie's reffing, so he's in the ring.
Can you say what this move is?
Well, Curtis, Mr. Hughes goes up to the top. He's going to leap off, and Nikita comes and gets him and throws him off. And Fonzie reacts and sells Mr. Hughes hitting the mat when he gets thrown off the top rope. Watch Fonzie instead of the two guys.
Yeah, like a trampoline effect is what. Yeah,
he jumped up in the air like it. I just thought that was a nice move from Fonzie. And
let me tell you something.
Yeah,
that move looks great, especially when a big man takes it.
Oh yeah,
because they hit that mat hard and it springs up a little.
He bounced it. Yeah, I mean even Nikita bounced a little with it and he threw him.
Yeah.
The last note here is this was a pretty decent little match, and I'm glad they let it go a while because they're trying to build Nikita up, and that doesn't kill Mr. Hughes. Like I didn't know, I didn't. At no point did I think Mr. Hughes was going to win this because I watch wrestling, but it wasn't a complete squash match, and I thought it worked here.
I had the same timestamp as you had when he threw Hughes off the top and Hughes bumped. I didn't mention Fonzie, but I had the note. And I agree. Like, it was competitive. Hughes ends up missing a move on Koloff, and then Koloff is going to hit him with the Russian sickle for the win. But they gave him time to do a little bit here. I didn't think that Hughes would win because Nikita just kind of came back within the last couple months, and he's trying to establish himself and, you know, so, I mean, it made sense. It's unfortunate in a way if we're looking back now because, you know, WCW kind of wasted Mr. Hughes. They didn't do anything with him.
He might need to go stand in line behind the others.
Yeah, he's not alone.
There's some more on this episode that we're going to get to in that regard.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, as we say they wasted him, he was not alone in just being treated badly. And the crazy part is, you know, they put him, he was the big cat, and then they put him in this gimmick, and this gimmick was great for him. Like, it really did something for him, and they still, you know, put a good gimmick on him, but then just didn't do anything. It just, yeah. All right. We hear more, I'm going to keep going. We hear more from Randy Owen here about the June Jam softball game and concert from these two. And then we go to Rick Rude. I'm trying to get to it, Doc. I'm going to hear a Rick Rude promo. This is Rude's great. This was great. So just so everybody's aware, this is going to be Rude in the ring with Randy and JR. Let's go to the audio now. Here it is.
This opportunity to get a lot of things clear, and I know, Randy, you've got if we can get everybody's attention, you've got a very important question to ask Ravishing Rick Rude.
Well, being a fan of wrestling, I wondered why that you left the WWF and came to the WCW. We're happy to have you.
Oh, talk about a curveball. Why I left the WWF? Good question. It goes like this, Randy. For a long time, I held the WWF Intercontinental title, which would make me first in line for a shot at the WWF World Championship. Never happened. See, what happened was the WWF was trying to hold Ravishing Rick Rude back. And they might have held me back, but they couldn't hold me down. You see, what I decided to do was pack my bags and move on to bigger and better things.
All right, one question that I know the fans want addressed. These allegations that have been coming from the camp of the Dangerous Alliance regarding Ricky Steamboat, who allegedly wants to have some sort of extramarital affair with Medusa. Set the record straight on this situation. What's really going on?
To set the record straight, Ross, it's like this. There are no allegations. There are only facts. And Ricky Steamboat has been following Medusa. He's been heckling her. He's been hounding her. We're trying to get a restraining order on the man right now.
A lot of people don't believe that, Mr. Rude.
Do you think I care what these people think? Do you think these people know exactly what's happening? Ricky Steamboat has been hounding Medusa, but you can't really blame the man. Medusa is a beautiful woman. Medusa is the first lady of the WCW, and she's all mine. And I brought her with me, Ross.
Oh, did you?
I'm going to bring her on down. How about that? Deucey, come on down, baby. Doesn't she look good?
We're going to have another guest here. Will be joining us momentarily. The self-proclaimed First Lady of WCW, making her way to the ring. Well, you know, that's a real good opportunity. While she's here, why don't you let me ask her about Ricky Steamboat?
Hold it, Ross. Enough is said about Ricky Steamboat and Medusa. I'm looking at the sleaze bags out here, and they're looking kind of confused. I'm thinking maybe they have a few questions for the Ravishing One. So I hate to change your form, but let me take over here just a minute. Turn the house lights up. Missy, can you help me?
So we're going to take some questions from the audience. Let's hear our first question, please.
All right, I'm going to pause it here. Let's address right here Rude. Randy Owens' question wants to know why Rude left WWF. And boy, Rick Rude just fires away.
Rick Rude almost turned babyface right there with that answer.
The only reason he does not turn babyface is what I say all the time about him. He's such a prick.
Yeah.
But he's so good at being a prick. He doesn't have go-away heat. He just has heat where you're like, I can't stand this asshole.
He has that big head. And I don't mean big like as an insult. He's just a big dude, but that head is just, it's solid looking. And he looks like Tom Selleck. In that time, man, as badass as we've talked about Vader being in this time frame, I wouldn't have gone away from Rick Rude and Sting. I think there's so much money there. Because I think this angle with Sting harassing Medusa works a lot better than Steamboat.
I don't know. I like this because I like to speculate.
But then he's like, these sleaze bags out here look a little confused. So we're going to let him ask some questions.
I'm just saying, he's just phenomenal.
That was really strange for one big wrestling program to acknowledge the other on their show like that.
Yeah, but he also put him down because he's like,
yeah, he did. He knocked it out the
bags and moved.
And he said there are no allegations, only facts.
Oh God, that was so good. That line talking about Steamboat stalking Medusa. But
and he calls her Deuce or Deucey. I mean, he's in control of the situation. And that's what you want to see out of your smarmy prick heel. Now,
last thing. If you listen to him cut a promo, the underrated thing no one ever talks about, including us, it's his pace of his promo. He doesn't speak too fast. He doesn't speak too slow. He states his facts or what he sees as facts. He lets you kind of absorb it as he's going. And it works so good because he sounds so much like a prick.
You're on his timetable.
Yeah, it's all about him. Don't rush him. It's all about him and everything he's got to say.
And then he changed up the format on the fly. And that's in the center of the crowd where the first sleaze bag to ask a question looks like, Kamona Wanalea.
Yeah, let's go to it now. Let's go back to the audio and where Missy's going to be asking the women in the crowd some questions, or they're going to be asking Rude some questions, I should say. Here it is.
Just a minute. Turn the house lights up. Missy, can you help me?
So we're going to take some questions from the audience. Let's hear our first question, please.
Do you have an interview? I'm sorry. Do you have a question for the Ravishing One?
Yes, Rick, I understand that Medusa is First Lady of the WCW, but baby, what do I have to do to be your First Lady?
She wanted to know how she could become your First Lady, if I got the question correct.
Sweetheart, you obviously have the bodily qualifications, but it just depends on how well you could put that body into motion. You know what I mean? Keep that thought. I'll get with you later.
Excuse me, Mr. Rude, I think here's another one.
Missy has another person who wants to ask a question.
Do you have a question for the Ravishing One? No, I don't have a question. I have a statement to make. Everything that Ravishing Rick Rude is saying is true. I'm having an affair with Ricky Steamboat.
This is not true. This is not true. I've been seeing him for quite some time now. You're lying.
Shut up, you stupid I've been seeing him for so...
She is lying. She is lying.
I've been seeing him for... I spent all my time with him. Oh, you're a
I don't believe these allegations. Wait just a second.
Tell him I'm having an affair with Ricky Steamboat. Tell him.
Nobody believes you're having an affair with Ricky Steamboat. Where's security?
She is lying.
Get security out here. Let's.
Them. She is lying.
Please take her away. I'm sorry. There's another girl.
Another one?
Now she's saying she's had an affair. 3 women here that said they had an affair with Steamboat. What's going on?
I can't believe this, Ross. Obviously, Ricky Steamboat is a creature of habit. A good husband, a good family man? I don't think so. Ross, I just feel horrible that this had to come out on my time. I don't know. Mrs. Steamboat, I'm sorry.
Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize on behalf of Randy Owen. You got to be subject to this, and we'll be right back.
Bro, this was so good. I got so many thoughts, but let me go to you first. What are your thoughts?
That one slut called that other slut a slut.
Her words, not ours.
Right. I'm allegedly reporting the facts, not allegations. I mean, look, none of these girls, it was porno level acting, but the point is that it was funny. And that was a whole lot different than the schmoz with Hervey and Heyman last week in this segment.
100%. And Rick Rude is so good the way he threw it to the audience to listen to these questions. And he's like, oh, we got 3 of them. You know, it's just, it's so good. Rude had me dying throughout. But the first one he tells, you have the bodily qualifications. So, I mean, wow. You can't say that now on TV now. But anyway, and then the second one, who I've got frozen on the video version, tinyurl.com/PatreonBTT. You know how last week we had a long discussion about Johnny B. Bad not looking like he was Soul Man and was taking, tanning pills and whatnot. It looked like a natural tan on him. Bruh, this woman is living in a tanning bed and using way too much bronzer, because look how unnatural she looks.
Yeah, sleazebag?
She looks unnatural. The second one they had asked Rude a question.
She's not that. I mean, she's one of those 1989 hair metal hot, but 45 is not going to look good on her.
Yeah, she'll have wrinkled skin from the constant tanning. And then you really can't get a good look at the third one. I mean, you only see her. She's got a very 1980s outfit on with the jean jacket and jean shorts, but you can't really see much of her. However, she tells woman number 2 to shut up because she's already banging Steamboat. And then I just noticed something as I'm watching this for the 50 millionth time. There's a woman or a man directly behind woman 2 who starts clapping. He's or she is enjoying this. And then there's a kid in like a multicolored shirt on who starts clapping too, like, oh, ho, 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 look, he's all into it too. Because he just heard the word
slut. That's Kid Harper right there. That's Kid Harper.
So this, again, we buried last week's segment like this. This week's segment is 10 times better. And last but not least, Doug Dillinger has to escort lady number 2 out the building, throws her over his shoulder, and runs out of center stage with her. And here's what the question I have to the BTT Army out there. Let us know who these women are, if you do know who they are, because obviously they're plants, or they just went to the local strip club and said, hey, we need a couple of you to make some money with tonight. I don't know. Who knows?
I don't know. Like, you can't know that.
Are they some talents, girlfriends, wives, etc.? Who knows? Things like that you just couldn't find out easily back then. All right. Any other thoughts, Doc? This was a phenomenal segment.
It was great.
We go to commercial and come back, and we get more from Randy Orton and JR, and they start talking about Vinny Vegas before we go to a Vinny Vegas promo. And I was laughing hysterically here because Randy Orton says, I never heard of Vinny Vegas during all my time of performing in Las Vegas. And he's laughing about it. Kayfabe, Randy.
Come on, brother. Work with
What
us.
are we doing here? But I guess it works because Vinny Vegas is a heel, so yeah, it works. I'm going to play this real quick promo from Vinny Vegas because I just love the ridiculously phony accent. Here it is.
How you doing? It's the Vin Man here. You know, I've been sitting back watching everybody, listening to everybody, talking about what you're going to do to each other, how tough you are. I'm going to tell you something right now. You're driving me crazy. I'm going to take this toilet lid size hand and smack the taste out of your mouth. I can't put up with it. I'll tell you something right now. You get in the ring with me, it's going to be quick and easy and painful.
I love the accent. It's a guilty pleasure when he starts that shit. Thoughts?
I hate this.
It's not that bad.
It's 100% that bad.
After his promo, we go back to the arena we were in, and it's Vinny Vegas versus someone. They didn't even give his name, or I didn't hear it if they did. Jim Ross speculates about what we saw from Rude and the women in the crowd, and Jim Ross wonders, hey, I wonder if it's true. And JR is just like, I don't want to believe this. I can't believe this on commentary, thinking that all these allegations that Ricky Steamboat is cheating on his wife with all of these different women, along with stalking Medusa. Doc, any thoughts on any of the commentary or the match here?
This is where I realized that Randy Orton wasn't doing color.
No, he was on this. I'd have to go back and listen to the whole thing.
He's on the main event.
Even in the main event, he's
quiet.
He never talks. Like, he lays out, which I got some thoughts on that when we get there.
Okay.
I'm not complaining about it. But yeah, it's just JR talking here.
So we dress Vinny Vegas up like Curtis Hughes, but we don't tag them anymore. Okay.
Yeah, I think they're done. I do think they're done tagging. I don't think they're going to tag anymore. Vinny Vegas wins. Okay. And that's that.
And that's that.
Now remember, we cut promos with Vinny Vegas and Harley Race, and as Vinny Vegas said, under the expert tutelage of Mr. Harley Race. Remember that? Well,
no,
I guess not anymore. Yeah.
That must have been during my sabbatical.
Yeah, it was, but it's just funny how that happened at that moment. All right, we're going to go now to the WCW Magazine segment. I'm going to play this bit right here because there's a bit of an announcement that was made. Here we go.
You think?
Thanks, Jim. And this is the WCW Magazine for Saturday, May 9th. 1992. Our lead story takes us to the Windy City last Sunday night when Rick and Scott Steiner defeated Arn Anderson and beautiful Bobby Eaton for the WCW World Tag Team Championships inside of a steel cage. Now, there were no television cameras on hand, but according to WCW Magazine's Dennis Brent, who captured the action with these photographs, the fans at Chicago's UIC Pavilion witnessed a truly inspired title defense by Arn Anderson and beautiful Bobby Eaton. Two athletes who, despite their ring tactics, proved that they were worthy of the WCW World Tag Team titles. But in the end, it was the overwhelming power of the Steiner brothers and the inability of Paul E. Dangerously to penetrate the steel cage that ended Arn Anderson and Bobby Eaton's reign as WCW World Tag Team Champions. Now, this development will have a double impact on Wrestle War 92. The Steiner brothers are going into their match with Iizuka and Tatsumi Fujinami as the new WCW World Tag Team Champions and momentum in their corner.
You can look at this match a few different ways. Fujinami and Iizuka coming after our world titles, Japanese against the United States, or you can look at you, Fujinami and Iizuka, as stepping stones. See, when we got stripped of our world titles, we also got stripped of the Japanese international titles. We're using you guys as a stepping stone for Muda and Hase.
Yeah, will it be Hong Kong Phooey, Tiki Chow Mei, wherever it is.
Jesus
Japanese,
Christ.
You guys ain't better than us, and we're going to prove it to you.
And the Dangerous Alliance is...
Boy, Rick Steiner just being Rick Steiner.
The views of Rick Steiner do not...
God. That was something, man. Okay, any thoughts about the announcement? There's no TV footage; it's just some still shots of it. Any thoughts of the announcement? Arn and Bobby lost, and the Steiner brothers are now champions.
This may surprise you, but I used to really like it when they would do stuff like this because it made it seem like shit could happen anytime, anywhere.
Yeah, I actually have the similar note. I don't see a problem with this. If you want
It's like
things
shit.
to seem,
I mean, it's not. TV can't. Back then, you're thinking TV can't be everywhere. So shit. I guess they lost them.
yeah, I was about to say, if you want things to seem realistic, there's got to be times when a title defense or titles change hands when it's not on Saturday night or one of the other shows.
Right.
Like you have to accept that reality of quote unquote keeping things real and being a
And
real
as
business.
bad as their house show business is hemorrhaging money right now, making it seem like something exciting could happen there is probably a smart move.
Yeah. I got
I don't
nothing bad to
understand
say
why
about it.
Rick Steiner had to go potty mouth and get insensitive, but that we'll let him defend himself on his time, not ours.
Yeah, it's his business, not ours. Okay. From there, we see a bunch of replays. We see a replay of Larry Zbyszko and Paul Lee arguing and the Dangerous Alliance attacking Steamboat as we build up Wrestle War and War Games. And then Eric wraps up mentioning the NWA World Tag Title Tournament again. And that's pretty much the...
Why don't you just call him Calloway? Jesus, is he like your best buddy?
I'm sorry. Didn't mean to offend you. Eric Bischoff. Oh, you go to high school with him? Oh, Harper, bro, I got a question. When y'all talk about me, why you make me sound like I'm special? Love you, D-Man. All right. Continuing right along. Any other thoughts on this?
No, I thought, they spelled a lot of things correctly here in these brackets, man. I was pleasantly surprised.
Kind of shocking is what it is.
Yeah.
Give them time, though. I'm sure they'll mess it up.
Yeah, you never know.
You know how it is. You know this drill. All right, we continue. We go back to Jim Ross and Randy Owen, and JR says, when is the next album going to be out? And Randy Owen speaks super, super low, and he gives his answer, but I didn't note what the answer was.
Oh, they just finished recording, and they had finished, I think, mastering it, and it should be coming out later in that year, I think is what he said.
Okay, fair enough. Harper would be able to tell us the name of the album
Harper
and
has
everything if he was here.
on 8-track and vinyl and cassette and CD and laser disc. Harper's a closet hillbilly, you know that, right?
He's a well-versed person. He's all across the board when it comes to things. I can tell you that now.
To things.
It's true, man. He can tell you all kind of stuff about everything. You're like, how do you know that?
Well, if you draw our circles of what we know, like a Venn diagram across the three of us, we cover a lot of territory in the things that we know across the three of us in pop culture and in our time frames.
Yeah. One of us doesn't know a lot, but combined, there's a whole bunch of knowledge up there.
We ought to go as a three-headed monster on Jeopardy. Can we go on the college version, though? Because I don't want to get beat.
Oh, man. Next match is the Diamond Stud versus Rob Campbell. We got another quick one here as we're working our way to the main event of this week's show. Diamond Stud does hit his finisher and wins by pin. But, Doc, before I go to that, you got anything from this one?
Yeah, I have a couple of things. We are about to Razor's got to be leaving soon, huh?
It's 92, so...
Yeah, he's got to get over to his real gig.
Yeah. His real gig. That he comes back to WCW in a few years.
Well, he's invading.
Think about that.
He's
think
invading
about that.
from...
I want you to think about this. It's 92. Only 4 short years from now, he's going to be back in this promotion when this promotion explodes.
As the hottest star for a couple of months in the industry.
One of, if you want to be fair.
Okay.
Yeah.
Other thing is, this Franklin fella didn't look terrible. He had a little look to him.
He's got some tiger print or yellow tiger printish type tights on, some dull yellow boots. He's not bad. He bumps good. Takes the finish fine. Took a choke slam fine as well. He's good. I got nothing bad from him.
Okay.
Diamond Stud hits the Razor's Edge or Diamond Drop or whatever the hell they call it here, and he wins, and that's all we have.
That's just the Razor's Edge. I don't care what his name is or where he is. That's the Razor's Edge, bro.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right. We then go back to Jim Ross and Randy Owen after the match, and Jim Ross says, have you ever heard JT Southern play the guitar? He's asking Randy Owen this, a multi album, millions of albums sold. He's asking him, have you ever heard JT Southern play guitar? And Randy Owen says, no, I haven't. And we go to the match.
Yeah, honestly, I hadn't heard Van Hammer's ass do it either. So what's your point, Jimbo?
Right. So here's what's funny about this. It's Brad Armstrong. We go back to the arena. It's Brad Armstrong versus Scotty Flamingo. And in Scotty Flamingo's corner is JT Southern. And that's why Jim Ross asked Randy Owen about JT Southern, because we got Southern in Scotty Flamingo's corner here on the outside, kind of manage him. I don't know what the hell he's doing, but he's out there and he gets involved. Let me go to you, Brad versus Scotty Flamingo.
So first of all, I said earlier when we were watching Mr. Hughes, people that got mismanaged, and I was alluding to this match right here, as both of these guys are pretty, pretty awesome. They had a hot start coming out the gate, which you would expect from these two guys, and then settled down a little bit into a long headlock, which is a little too long for me, for the little fellers to pull off. And if you're looking for it to reverse engineer it, Brad Armstrong now moves like Arachnaman and Fantasia if you watch him.
Yeah. That's what I was saying when he was doing Arachnaman. It's like it's easy for us now to say it, but you're like, his movements didn't change. Even that move where he kind of like crouches down and he's got his hands out at his side. He does that as Brad Armstrong, and he did that before Arachnaman and even after. But you can just tell, you're like, it's him. Like, there's no secret to it. You're like, that is Brad Armstrong under that mask. And again, we might not have known at the time, but nowadays, yeah, you can see it with ease. It's ridiculous.
Do you think it's one of those things where sometimes you just get labeled and it's lazy and you just can't get rid of the like, if he was that good backstage and naturally funny and charismatic, I feel like they gave up on him quickly from being a top player.
Austin always says Brad was the life of the party backstage, but when he had a microphone and when he was holding the microphone, he wasn't that good in promos. Like he didn't say he wasn't that good. He's just, his personality never showed. The thing with Brad is, and I've said this I think a number of times, I think just like you, he ended up getting labeled as just the guy who would just, kind of be enhancement talent, but, get on Worldwide, need to get a win. Like they'd put him over on a guy or two, but mainly he was putting some of the stars over. And I just think after all the years of them just kind of like having him lose, it was like they couldn't rehabilitate him. They would have had to like send him away for 2 years and really put some kind of gimmick on him where you could hide who he was for him to get over. And it's really sad because he deserved better than what he got. I mean, he's got too much talent.
Yep.
And the other part is, okay, he can't cut a promo. Bobby Eaton wasn't a great promo guy. So let's hide that, the whole Paul Heyman thing. Hide the negatives and, promote the positives with him. And that's Brad never got that treatment. He never got that same treatment. I'm not saying that he'd have been Bobby Eaton. I'm just saying in the same way Bobby wasn't a great promo guy, neither is Brad. But Brad's a hell of a guy in the ring. They could have did more with him. There were enough minds there to figure something out, and he just got lost. And then they ended up just making enhancement talent for years and years and years on end.
Right.
Which sucks.
This was a good little match, though. I enjoyed it.
They worked their asses off. It's two guys with talent. It is ridiculous every single week when I lay eyes on Scotty Flamingo. I just continuously look at this dude like, that's Raven. And it's just one of those things where I really have trouble. Like, that's Raven. It's one of the, again, it's just crazy. Brad Armstrong is going to suplex Flamingo into the ring for the finish, but Southern grabs Brad's leg, and Flamingo falls on Brad Armstrong and pins him, with Southern holding his leg as they're near the ring apron, and Brad loses. So at least when Brad loses, he was screwed and not just straight up. Not that they're going to do anything with him, but, it is what it is. Any thoughts, Doc?
Good match, and I thought the finish made sense given who was in play there.
Totally agree. Before we go to the main event, which is going to be Barry Windham versus Steve Austin, 2 out of 3 falls, they do show a replay of a few weeks ago when Barry Windham and Steve Austin battled each other. It ended in a time limit draw, so this is now the rematch, and this is probably one of the better 2 out of 3 falls that they have. Austin and Windham had a good one last time. They just didn't have enough time. But this was a very good 2 out of 3 falls. So a couple notes before I throw to you and we start getting into this. I made this note. Why is Randy Owen on commentary? Why is Randy Owen on commentary? And it's not that he was bad. It's that Jim Ross is basically calling this by himself. He doesn't need Randy Owen at all. And I don't know. Did you kind of feel the same way?
Yeah, and I think it exposes the other flaw in a lot of this is that the second you bring in somebody who's not from the wrestling world, you're not putting them at their best light. Like, these guys, if you're famous, you're used to doing interviews. That setting and that sort of magazine setting is fine, but I don't know that color commentary is an entirely different animal.
Yeah, it's not easy to do. I can tell you that much. It's really hard, especially when you're doing it with somebody who's established, like JR, and you're expected to kind of work off of them, and you're kind of waiting for them to feed you to jump in because you don't want to jump in and interrupt them. That it's not easy when you don't have that chemistry, which goes back to the point you made the very first week of the talk show format with the rotating co-hosts. You said it, like, you got to feed this thing, and that's one of the challenges of feeding this every single week. Having a new person as a co-host is you're constantly rotating that person out, and JR is good, he can pull it off, but he's then got to work with somebody he's got no chemistry with. Every single week.
Each and every week. And then it's not who do you have in weeks 1 through 5. It's who do you have in weeks 26 through 31.
Which thankfully they don't make it that far.
What are you talking about?
The talk show format, where they're constantly rotating.
Oh.
They'll rotate.
I'm starting to get fond of this, though. It's not going to go away, is it?
Right. By the way, did you catch Harper when you praised it a few weeks ago? He changed his tune and he praised it. He all of a sudden liked the talk show format.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. I know what happened. All right, Doc. I have the timestamps of the falls.
I got some other ones.
All right, so let me mention this, and then you can tell me when to stop. Barry's mouth gets busted open at some point. And the closest I could find to it was maybe around 101.20 because Austin hit a jawbreaker and then a lariat that may have caught Barry in the mouth, and that might have done it, but I'm not 100% sure. And then real quick before I throw it to you too, besides that, this is an old school wrestling match. 2 dudes who know how to work. Austin has Paul Lee on the outside. So at one point, Austin has Windham in a head scissors. He's working it while pulling the ropes. Just great old school heel work from like Austin here with the headlock, and then these guys these are 2 top talents. But let me go to you because it sounds like you got a bunch of stuff too.
They had 26 minutes coming in, which is what you need for guys like this.
Yes.
If we're gonna do this 2 out of 3 gimmick, you gotta feed that right too.
Yeah.
And I guess you failed to mention that Stone Cold got his hair cut.
Oh, good point. Yeah.
And that's nice because you can see his facials now. He doesn't have that stringy hair in his way.
I don't like the haircut though.
You don't?
Nah, that mushroom hairdo type. No.
Mushroom? What are you talking about?
I don't know how to describe it. It just got like a mushroom look to it. Actually, I do know how to describe it. It's got a mushroom look to it.
That's a new one on me. Is that kind of like white people smelling like puppy dogs? Is this stuff y'all talk about in the hood? I don't know.
Shut up.
Okay.
Fucking stupid.
How many cases of beer could these two guys drink in one night together?
The answer is yes.
Yeah, the answer is all. These might be the two leaders in the clubhouse if we lined up the entire locker room.
Let's not forget, Arn Anderson's back there, Bobby Eaton's back there.
Yeah, but Windham's a big bastard. He's what, 6'6", 6'7", in Sweetwater, Texas, and Austin's Steve Weisers.
Yeah.
And that's what we ought to do, is get in the boogie mobile and go back to like 1992 and have a beer drinking contest, and whoever doesn't die wins.
I think I'll pass, but I wish we could get.
Okay, so let me ask you this:
if we
sat there, if we lined up all the guys on the roster, 1 to 100, let's say, with all the enhancement guys, let's say there's 99 of them, and me, and we all just started drinking beers, and the last one left won, and in order, where would I finish, you think, with the wrestling crew in 1992?
How do we determine finish?
Because we're just going to keep drinking beers and line them up in front of us until you go, man, I can't drink no more.
I mean, you can always drink more. You'll get alcohol poisoning, but
right. But
I mean, you're behind. You probably would fall behind Windham and Austin and probably Arn Anderson
But I'm not. Am I in the top half? Am I in the back half?
No, you're probably in the top half.
Okay.
But I mean, I'm in the top half too if you're talking about like the ability to hold just liquor. Because I mean,
this is a beer drinking contest, Mike.
I know it's a beer drinking contest, but I'm just saying I can put down some Hennessy. I don't even drink it all the time, but when I do, I can kill a bottle. And I mean, I'm not gonna sit there and tell you I can drive and kill a bottle, but I'm not, falling out, throwing up all over the place either. I'm just drunk.
Drunk. That sounds great.
Yeah, we know you're an alcoholic.
Why?
Okay.
Why do you
continue? Because it's true.
Okay. 55-35.
Oh, we went ahead of that. What are we looking for here?
It's a nice move.
That doesn't tell me a lot.
I forgot to make more notes.
Is it when Windham picks him up?
Yeah, he holds on to the headlock.
Yeah. So Austin's got him in a headlock. Windham picks him up for a belly to back. And, well, Austin just holds on to the headlock and takes the bump. I got a feeling there's some old timers that would be like, oh, my God, that's fake. He should take the bump and sell it, which I could see that. But, no, it didn't happen. Looked good, though.
Okay. Those same old timers wouldn't have had a problem with Rick Steiner's interview. So there you go. 57-25. A great move by Windham here.
All right, we have 57-20 here. Tackle, drop down by Austin. Oh, yeah. I don't know how to describe that.
He just stepped over him like a leapfrog, but he stepped over him instead with a big leg over the top and then drop kicked him.
And because Barry's such a big bastard, whenever he does that drop kick, it looks great.
That looked phenomenal. It was a nice, smooth set of moves. This is way better than the match we had 2 weeks ago. This first fall is lights out. Can I get 103-17? We're going to watch, I believe, Windham hit a DDT that is just tremendous.
All right, let me get 101-20 first because I have something here. This is where
we're watching wrestling here, bro. I love it.
This is where I think Barry gets busted open at the mouth. because Barry takes a jawbreaker and then a lariat that may have caught Barry in the mouth, because that's when, shortly after that is when I noticed that there was a little bit of blood. So there it was right there. You'll see the blood in another minute or two. From there, what did you say then? 103 what?
103.17.
All right. 103.15. There it is. A big old freaking DDT from Windham.
Yeah.
Really looked good. He like jumped, and I don't know how often I've seen a DDT like that.
All right. Take us to the end of this fall.
All right. So we go to the end of fall number 1. Windham gives Austin a superplex, and, as he had Austin reeling, he didn't just do that. Austin was on the run. And when he gives him the superplex, 1, 2, 3, he pins him, and that is fall number 1. And
the champ is behind the 8 ball early.
Fall number 1 took a while. Like, it wasn't quick. It was, maybe 12 minutes. I don't know. They got in there and worked. So the champion is see Barry's mouth is busted open now.
Yeah.
I think it happened on that jawbreaker and that lariat that we were talking about earlier. All right. So then we go to fall number 2 gets started. And there's a big old collision at the start of fall 2. It's coming up in a second here as I've got it queued up. And Windham goes flying out of the ring. Watch this, Doc. And if you're on Patreon, you can enjoy this too. tinyurl.com/Patreon BTT. Here it comes. I know I didn't write this down wrong. Oh, here it is. Here it is. Bam! So Austin follows him into the ropes and kind of like hits him with a back elbow type move. And chops him kind of. This is a back elbow. It's supposed to be a back elbow. Something went wrong there. But anyway, Windham takes it and flies over the top rope. And I'm like, ooh. I mean, these guys are out there working, man. This is how you do it. Now, fall number 2 doesn't take nearly as long as fall 1. They kind of got this one inside of about 5 minutes. What else did you have? Other timestamps?
Who's calling this match in the ring?
Barry.
Even though he's the babyface?
Probably.
That's my question.
But that's a tricky question sometimes, because I only say Barry because Barry's the more seasoned guy.
Sure.
Now, as I say that, Austin, although he's not been in the business for very long, he's exceptional right now. Like he's He's light years better than most people his age, with his tenure. So, as I say, Barry probably calls it. They're both. Austin's calling stuff too in there. He's not just not saying anything. And do you think with Austin's personality, he just would shut up and not say nothing?
Maybe in that he was probably. I do believe he's very respectful of the elders and how things are done in the business. And so, yeah, I do think a guy like Barry Windham would have drawn his respect.
You know what? That's a good point. You're right.
SD Jones comes in the territory, maybe not.
Right.
Bruiser Bob Sweet Tan, maybe not. But I think Barry was universally respected in that regard.
Yeah.
But that's one of those things, like, I've never been in the ring. I think a lot of our listeners have, never been in the ring. What's happening there, because this is a really, really tremendous match, and it does take 2 to tango here, but it who's calling it?
I oftentimes will hear, like, Cornette or some of these old timers, you'll hear them say, like, the heel pretty much calls it, but
that's why I said that.
But that's, again, I've never been at this level, but in my experience, it oftentimes was the person with more tenure. Like, you kind of just acquiesce to them. I mean, like when I worked with Chris Adams or Tommy Rogers, they were the vets. I was less than 5 years in pro wrestling, so I just, and I was the heel in those matches. So they called it. Like, who am I going to tell, those two dudes who've been around the world, nah, brother, I'm the veteran, like, Nah, go ahead and call it. I'll just follow. I'll follow your lead, whatever. So yeah, it's that's a good question because you do hear people say that all the time. Like you hear these old times, oh, the heel. I don't know if that's always true. But then again, it's like everything in life. Nothing's 100%. So.
And nothing is airtight.
Nothing's airtight, brother. The finish of Fall 2 is really impressive. It's a impressive stun gun. Austin gets Windham up. That big bastard drops him over the top. Barry Windham whiplashes, goes down 1, 2, 3. These dudes are good, man. These dudes are good. I mean, Windham kicked out at 3 2/4, but that saying it was still the 3 count. So that's Fall 2. Do you have anything from Fall 2?
Not a lot. It was pretty quick. They kind of messed up us seeing the whole 3 count there, but that's all right.
Yeah.
You can't expect them to get everything right.
Yeah, you got to give them credit here. They're getting a lot right. I mean, like you said, you can't expect everything. So then with Fall 3, as we're watching the third fall, I didn't write down the exact timestamp. We see a scroll at the bottom of the screen states that Steamboat has contacted WCW corporate offices and he denies all allegations of cheating on his wife, and he will speak about it tomorrow on the main event.
Bonnie made Ricky get on. Did you tell them to stop saying that about us, Ricky?
Bro, can you imagine what she was telling? I have trouble believing when I've heard the stories about her that she just took this angle and was like, whatever. Yeah. Like, she had to be, I mean, we've just heard too many stories about her. And I'm not saying she's a bad person. I mean, we've heard the stories of her involvement with his career. And I just have to imagine she heard that and was like, oh no, you're going to put a stop to this shit.
How many females do you know in your history of life that could go along with the work or no sell anything?
They ain't many, bruh.
and they're mostly in the wrestling business, probably, and even all of them can't do it.
Right. So yeah, man. For real, I just somebody send that into the drive-through. Is he still answering questions on there?
Sometimes.
Every time I pull up the drive-through, it's still. It's even modern questions though. It's not a lot of classic. But somebody asked that, if Corny's got any knowledge of in 1992 when they did the angle with Steamboat stalking Medusa and having several affairs, if he ever heard stories about Bonnie getting pissed with Ricky Steamboat at this time. I really would love to know. It just seems like it would be something that would happen.
Sure.
But
all right,
Doc. There it is. There's the bulletin on the video version.
Yeah, we need to get this serious because we need to come to a conclusion because there's serious business at foot.
All right, so here we go. The third fall. We get a ref bump because, that's what we did back in the day whenever we had something important going on. Ref bump when Wyndham's boot accidentally catches referee Pee Wee Anderson in the ring. And we're going to see it here. Boom. Look good. I mean, it would look natural. I mean, it wasn't like crazy. Paul Lee, when the referee goes down, he gives the WCW World title to Austin. Austin swings at Barry, but Barry ducks. Barry Windham then rolls up Austin, and referee Pee Wee Anderson is fine as Barry rolls up Austin. 1, 2, 3. Barry Windham wins the WCW World TV title from Steve Austin. Now, after the match, Austin does attack him with the belt and plasters him in the head one time and then kind of whips him with it like a strap.
Whip him like a dog. Whip him.
But that said, that's so Austin can keep his heat. Barry Windham is the new WCW World Television Champion in a fantastic 2 out of 3 falls match.
Yeah,
that you have. We watch basically the whole thing here almost. Make sure you watch it on Patreon if you're a Patreon member. tinyurl.com/Patreon BTT. This was really good.
Really,
best one we've seen so far.
Probably. Here's my take on it, and this does not take away from the guys in the ring or the match that they had. I think it would have been more effective if it had just been a one fall match and that had gone 3 or 4 minutes longer than the first fall, because they were they could have brought that in real hot because they were already in a nice rhythm. But I'm not bad at this at all. That's a slight difference on how I would have done it. If I had the pencil, brother. This was great. And I mean, I don't think Austin loses a lot, and it's Barry. These guys got after it.
Yeah, he don't lose anything.
We lost the title.
No, I mean, like in terms of him being like people looking, going, oh, he shouldn't have lost the belt. Like that's not even a thought that crosses my mind. I'm just
that's just something that happened, that we switched the belt. Okay.
Yeah, I'm just kind of like, Austin lost. He's had it for a while, and the person he lost it to is Barry Windham, who 100% deserves gold. So yeah, this was good shit, man. I loved it. I love the finish. I love. Think about the finishes. One of them was the superplex. The second one was Austin's stun gun. So we kind of had two of these guys' finishes in falls 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And then the third one, the heel manager tries to screw the baby face, and it backfires on him, and Barry Windham figures out a way to win. This is good shit.
It was good shit, and it's where the episode should have ended, because now we have to really end it, and it's painful looking.
Let me hit play.
God.
First, we're going to get Randy Owen and JR. Well, they kind of say a few words, but then we go to, we're going to go to Scotty Flamingo, followed by Johnny B. Bad.
We're going to hear much more about this Barry Windham stunning Steve Austin situation. There's no doubt about that. And before we say goodbye to Randy fans, I want to remind you that next week we'll not only have Teddy Long here, but Flying Brian as well. And we're going to see a matchup of great light heavyweights. Scotty Flamingo and Johnny B. Bad one-on-one next week. Let's hear their comments.
Here comes.
Johnny B. Bozo the Clown. What are you thinking, my brother? Taking on Scotty Flamingo next week, 2 out of 3 falls? Ain't gonna happen, my brother. It ain't gonna happen.
This is Johnny B. Bad, the bad man of World Championship Wrestling. And next week, Scotty Flamingo and me are gonna mingle. And you know one thing about flamingos? They're so pretty, but they're very delicate. I'll break them.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that big matchup, Johnny B. Bad and Scotty Flamingo next week. We did an interesting interview with Ravishing Rick Rude earlier. What'd you think of that?
Well, I think there's a good country song there somewhere.
Talk about a lot of cheating and a lot of broken hearts along the way. Randy, thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much, and we look forward to participating on the June.
This is funny, man.
Come on.
What was that shit from Scotty Flamingo?
I couldn't tell if he was making fun of Johnny B. Bad for acting like a black guy, or if that was his attempt to try to be cool, or what.
One more time, because it's very short.
Johnny B. Bozo the Clown. What are you thinking, my brother? Taking on Scotty Flamingo next week, 2 out of 3 falls? Ain't gonna happen, my brother. It ain't gonna happen.
I just think that's him being Scotty Flamingo. I'm not trying to make. I don't think he's trying to make fun of Johnny B. Bad at all. Randy Owens gonna make a song out of Ricky
Why
Steamboat
not,
cheating,
man? Let's
affair.
sell some records.
Yeah, let's print some money out of this stuff. This is good. All right, man. Well, before we get out of here and wrap up May the 9th, 1992, quick reminder: the only way you can hear us break down the Wrestle War pay-per-view is by going to tinyurl.com/PatreonBTT. Not only is it a great way to support the show, but you get tons of extra content when you join Patreon. Over 400 plus Patreon exclusive shows. tinyurl.com/PatreonBTT. Please join. We don't do ads. We just have fun here. We talk about old school wrestling. We don't try to sell you Dawn croutons or reverse mortgages and whatever else lots of podcasts try to sell you, gummies that don't work, things like that. We just bring the content. Tonight, you got almost an hour and a half of just pure wrestling, old school wrestling content. So if you can become a patron, become one at tinyurl.com/PatreonBTT. On that note, Doc, we got to rate this thing and hand out some Rolexes. This is a hilarious episode. Let's start with the rating first. What are you going to rate it?
Man, it is a severe roller coaster ride because we gave it an A couple of weeks ago. Last week, we were very, very generous in our ratings. But tonight, I don't feel like I have to come out of pocket here to give this an A.
I think you're right. You ain't got to come out of pocket. So are you giving it an A?
I'm giving it an A, man. Randy Owen was professional and asked a question about WWF. Rick Rude, all the wrestling was good. The promos were either funny or good, and I was about it.
Just think about it. We're giving it. I'm gonna give it an A as well. We're giving an episode an A that we usually need Harper during this talk show era to do something cuckoo, like talk about night vision goggles and squirters and stuff, for us to give something an A during the talk show era, and we didn't need him to give this an A. That actually tells you a lot more about this one.
Yeah, it was a good episode, man.
All right, so we're giving it an A. That means you need to hand out your Toot Toot Award. Who are you giving your Toot Toot Award to?
And there are some people here that are deserving, but I'm going to stay with Barry Windham for fighting through a busted lip and making sure that he finished the job and won himself the strap for the TV title.
I kind of wanted to give it to both of them, but I'm with you. Both of them.
I mean,
Barry.
Anytime Rick Rude calls somebody a sleaze bag or a sweat hog, I'm there for it, and I want to give him his flowers. But those guys wrestle their ass off, and that's still the name on the marquee, Mike. And so we're gonna give it to the wrestlers here tonight.
Real quick, you just hit something extremely important. There was a legitimate 3 people you could have given it to. You could have given it to Rick Rude. You could have given it to Steve Austin or Barry Windham. That kind of tells you how good of a show it was.
Yeah. When you got multiple people doing multiple things that are worthy of the highest award in the land, but right behind the Excellence of Execution Award, then
stupid. All right.
That's a callback that everybody will have to go back into the archives to remember that one.
That was something. All right, man.
Hey, well, I'll see you again tomorrow when we do the next episode.
Yeah. I'll see you again tomorrow. And for everybody else, that'll be a week from now, from the time of you hearing this. But this has been another fantastic episode of BTT. This really was a good one. I highly recommend, if you're already on Patreon, go pull up the Patreon video version of this so you can watch what we were watching as we talked about it. Because
put us on phenomenal. And take off your pants. You know what I'm saying?
No. Nobody wants. They don't need to go do the Jaworski. Leave that for that idiot to do. But go put on this show on Patreon, and you can watch us discuss it on the video version. I think you won't regret it, especially the 2 out of 3 falls and everything else, the Rick Rude Medusa stuff, and the 3 women having an affair or alleged affair with Steamboat. Yeah, just great stuff. Good stuff all the way around. Phenomenal episode. So that's why we gave it an A. We probably should have given it an A+, but we'll stick with an A. On that note, thank you for listening. Doc, do you have anything else before we get out of here and you hit the tagline?
No, sir.
All right, we'll hit the tagline and let's roll.
Oh, okay. Book it, bitch.
I'm sorry.
All right. Those allegations took place last night on the WCW broadcast. Later on in the broadcast, it was announced that Ricky Steamboat would have the opportunity to respond to the charges. Okay, I understand that the telephone connection is complete. Okay. Ricky, I know that you and Nikita are preparing to meet Larry Zbyszko and beautiful Bobby later on in the main event. I know that you're very busy, and I want to thank you for taking the time to take our call. But I also know, Ricky, that you're aware of the allegations last night on national television. Ricky, what's your reaction?
Well, okay, Eric, you know, the latest accusations by the DA are nothing but lies. You know, my wife, she didn't believe in it for a minute. Hey, she's a wonderful person. She's a beautiful wife. She has a great body. She's wonderful with my kids. You know, my son didn't believe in it for a minute. He wouldn't believe that I would do this to his mother. I'd like to say to everybody out there, you know, I made a vow to be faithful until death, to be committed, to love each other alone, no matter how tough the times may get. You know, and this may seem a little old-fashioned or out of date, but that's just the kind of man I am. Marriage is a gift from God, and don't anybody ever forget it. He takes it very seriously, and so do I. And if anything, this has made my marriage a lot stronger. And if the DA thinks that this latest ploy has disrupted my concentration for the war games, well, I'll tell you something. They better think again, Eric, because it hasn't. I'm not going to let my family down. I'm not going to let the little dragons down that support me. Oh, and one last thing. I want to say to all the fans out there, just keep believing in this fire-breathing dragon because, brother, he's hotter than ever.
Thank you very much, and good luck later on in the hour. Well, those comments from Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, who along with the WCW World's Heavyweight Champion Sting, Barry Windham, Dustin Rhodes, and Nikita Koloff will have his day in court when they take on the Dangerous Alliance inside of the two-ring steel cage at War Games.